Before there was a packet of yeast to buy at any store, before there was any store at all to buy it from, women made bread, beautiful bread, tall and light and sour and good. And they did it with nothing but flour and water and thyme and the wild yeast that floats invisible in the very air of a kitchen. That is what I am going to teach you today. How to make a sourdough starter from scratch, from nothing, with 2 ingredients you already have in about 5 days. And once you have it, once it is alive and bubbling in your kitchen, it will never die as long as you feed it. You can bake with it every week for the rest of your life and pass it down to your children and they to theirs. There are starters in plain families that are older than the people tending them, older than their grandparents, a living thing kept alive and handed down for 100 years and more. Today, you are going to begin one of your own. And I promise you, it is far easier than you have been led to believe. Let me tell you what a starter really is, because I think the mystery of it frightens people, and there is no need to be frightened. A sourdough starter is just flour and water that has been left to sit until the wild yeast and the good bacteria that are all around us, in the air, on the grain, on your very hands, come and take up residence in it and begin to live and grow and multiply. That is all. It is a little living colony, a culture that you keep in a jar and feed with more flour and water. And in return, it makes your bread rise and gives it that wonderful sour tang. You are not really making the starter. You are more like making a home for it and setting out the food and waiting for the wild yeast to move in. They are already here. They are in your kitchen right now, floating in the air. You only have to give them a place to gather. My grandmother said keeping a starter was like keeping a small, quiet pet, and she was not wrong. You feed it, you tend it, and it lives and it gives back to you far more than you ever put in. So here is how you begin, and you need almost nothing. You need flour. I would tell you to start with whole wheat flour or rye flour if you have it, just for the first day or two, because those whole grain flours are richer in the wild yeast and the good things that get, a starter going faster. But if all you have is plain white all-purpose flour, that is perfectly fine. It will just take a day or two longer to wake up. You need water. And here I will give you one small caution. If your tap water is heavily chlorinated, the chlorine can slow down or harm the wild yeast you are trying to grow. If you can, use water that has sat out overnight, which lets the chlorine escape, or use well water or spring water if you have it. My grandmother used the water from the well, of course, and it was perfect for it. But do not fuss too much. Most water will work, and you need a jar, a clean glass jar, a good big one, big enough that the starter has room to grow and bubble up without overflowing, because it will grow, it will double and more when it gets going. That is all you need. Flour, water, a jar, no special equipment, nothing to buy. On the first day, you take your jar and you put in it a good scoop of flour and about the same amount of water, and you stir them together into a thick paste, about like a thick batter, like pancake batter, or a little thicker, not too runny, not too stiff, just flour and water stirred smooth. Then you cover it loosely with a cloth or a lid set on, but not screwed down tight, because the starter needs to breathe. It needs the air to bring it, the wild yeast, and it needs a way to let out the gases it will make loosely covered. And you set it somewhere warm. Warmth is what wakes it up. A warm spot in the kitchen, on top of the icebox near the stove, but not hot, somewhere it can sit cozy and undisturbed around room temperature or a little warmer, and then you leave it. That is the first day. You have made a home and set out the food. Now the wild yeast begins to find it. On the second day, you may see a little something or you may see nothing at all, and either way is fine. Sometimes by the second day, there are a few small bubbles, a little sign of life. Sometimes nothing yet. Do not worry. Either way, what you do on the second day is you feed it. And feeding is simple. You throw away about half of what is in the jar. And I know that sounds strange, throwing away half, and I will explain why in a moment. And then you add fresh flour and fresh water again, the same amounts as before, and stir it back into that thick batter and cover it loosely and put it back in its warm spot. That is a feeding. Discard half, add fresh flour and water, stir. Now, why do you throw away half? Because if you never discarded any, you would just have more and more and more, a jar overflowing, and you would need more and more flour to feed it all. By discarding half each time, you keep the amount manageable. And more than that, you keep the culture strong because you are always feeding a small amount of starter with a good amount of fresh food, and that keeps the yeast vigorous and hungry and growing. The discard, by the way, you do not have to truly waste. Once your starter is going and strong, that discarded portion is a fine thing in its own right, and a thrifty plain woman would never dream of throwing good flour down the drain if she could help it. You can stir sourdough discard into pancakes and waffles in the morning, and it gives them the loveliest tang and tenderness. You can work it into biscuits and into a quick flatbread cooked in a pan. You can make crackers with it, rolled thin and baked crisp and salted, wonderful with soup. I will show you all of those another day because each is worth its own lesson. But in these very first days, while the starter is still weak and finding itself before it is strong and established, just discard it plain because a young starter is not yet good for baking, and the early discard is best let go. Once it is mature and lively, though, save that discard and put it to use. Waste nothing. That is the plain way. On the third day, now you should be seeing life. Bubbles, some rise, and a smell. And let me talk about the smell because it will surprise you. In these early days, a starter can smell strange, sour, yes, but sometimes sharp, sometimes almost like old socks or something a little off. Sometimes there may even be a little dark liquid on top. Do not be alarmed by any of this. This is all normal in a young starter finding its balance. The different wild yeasts and bacteria are sorting themselves out, competing, settling into their proper balance, and along the way, the smell can be peculiar. It will settle. By the time your starter is mature, it will smell pleasantly sour, tangy, yeasty, like good bread, maybe a little like beer or yogurt, a clean, sour smell. But in these early days, if it smells odd, keep going, keep feeding. That is just the culture growing up. You feed it again on the third day, same as before. Discard half, add fresh flour and water. Stir, cover, warm spot. By the fourth and fifth day, if all is going well and your kitchen is warm enough, your starter should be coming alive in earnest. Now you feed it, and within a few hours, you should see it actually rise up in the jar, doubling in size, full of bubbles, and then after a while, sink back down. That rising is the yeast eating the fresh flour and giving off gas, and that is exactly what will make your bread rise. When your starter reliably doubles within 4 to 8 hours of feeding it, full of bubbles, smelling pleasantly sour, then it is ready, it is alive, it is strong. It is a mature starter, and you can bake with it. Some starters get there in 5 days. Some take a week or a little more, especially in a cool kitchen or with only white flour. Do not rush it. Do not give up on it. As long as you keep feeding it and you see it growing livelier, it is working. It will get there. Warmth and patience and regular feeding, that is the whole secret. There is no trick beyond that. Now, once your starter is alive and strong, you have to keep it. And keeping it is easy. If you bake often, every few days, you keep your starter out on the counter and you feed it every day, once or even twice a day, and it stays lively and ready to bake. But if you only bake now and then, you do not want to feed a starter every single day forever. And here is the beautiful thing. You do not have to. You put it in the ice box. The cold puts it to sleep, slows it right down, and a starter in the icebox only needs feeding about once a week. When you want to bake, you take it out a day ahead, feed it, let it wake up and get bubbly and strong at room temperature, and then it is ready to use. After baking, feed it, let it perk up a little, and back in the icebox, it goes to sleep until next time. That is how a busy woman keeps a starter alive for years. That is how those 100-year-old starters survive, tucked in the cold, woken and fed and used and put back to sleep over and over, decade after decade. Let me tell you about the starter my grandmother kept, because it is the reason this lesson matters so much to me. Her starter was old, older than she was. It had come to her from her own mother and to her mother from somewhere further back still. Nobody quite knew how far, but it was spoken of as though it had always been. She kept it in a brown crock in the cool of the cellar, and she fed it faithfully, and she baked with it every week of her life. And that same living culture, that same colony of wild yeast had been rising bread for that family for longer than anyone could remember. When she died, that starter passed on, and it is still alive today, still being fed, still rising bread in a plain kitchen, carrying inside it a little living thread that reaches back through all those generations of women. Think of that. A living thing tended by hand and passed from mother to daughter that has outlived everyone who ever started it and will outlive us too if we keep faith with it. When I feed my starter, I am part of that long chain. And when you make yours and keep it and pass it on, you begin a chain of your own that may stretch on long after you are gone. There's something holy in that to me. Bread that connects the living and the dead, the born and the not yet born, all through one humble jar of flour and water, kept alive by loving hands. And here is a thing about starters that I love, which is that they are meant to be shared. When a starter is strong and healthy, it makes more of itself than one family can use. And so the old way was to give it away. A woman would take a cup of her own living starter and give it to a new bride, or to a neighbor moving into a house down the road, or to a young woman setting up her first kitchen. And with it, she gave the gift of bread for a lifetime. That new starter, given away, carried inside it a little of the giver's own culture, her own kitchen, her own long line. And it went on to raise bread in a new home while the mother starter kept on in the old one. In this way, a single good starter could spread across a whole community. From kitchen to kitchen, everyone's bread carrying a little thread of everyone else's. There are families whose starter and their neighbor's starter are really the same starter, shared generations back, still rising bread in both houses to this day. So once yours is strong, give some away. Give it to your daughter, to a friend, to a young person starting out. It costs you nothing. Your starter simply makes more, and you may be giving them a thing that feeds their family for 50 years. That is the kind of gift our people have always treasured. Not a thing bought with money, but a living thing, grown and tended and passed hand to hand. Let me give you a few things to watch for, the little troubles that can come up. If your starter is not doing anything after several days, it is most likely too cold. Find it a warmer spot. Warmth is the great mover of starters. In the summer, a starter comes alive quick and easy, but in a cold winter kitchen, it can be slow and sluggish, and you may need to find it the warmest corner you have, near the stove or in the oven with just the light on for a little gentle heat, or wrapped in a towel to hold what warmth it has. Give it warmth and it will nearly always come along. If you see a layer of dark liquid on top, that is called hooch, and it just means your starter is hungry. It needs feeding more often. So pour off that liquid or stir it in and feed it. If it smells truly dreadfully rotten, like true decay, not just sour or sharp, but genuinely foul, or if you ever see any pink or orange or fuzzy mold growing, then something has gone wrong and you throw it out and start fresh. But I will tell you, this almost never happens if you keep it fed and keep your jar clean. A healthy starter is a hardy thing. It protects itself with its own good acidity, and it is very hard to truly kill one that is being fed. Do not be afraid of it. It wants to live. Your job is only to feed it and keep it warm, and it will do the rest. So this week, start your starter. Today, if you can, get out a clean jar, put in your flour and your water, stir it up, cover it loose, and set it somewhere warm, and then feed it every day, discard and refresh, and watch it come to life. In 5 days or a week, you will have a living thing in your kitchen that can make you bread for the rest of your life. And a little while from now, I am going to show you how to bake a real sourdough loaf with it, a proper Amish sourdough, tall and tangy and golden, the kind that has fed plain families for 200 years. But it starts here with this jar. Everything starts here. Flour, water, warmth, and a little patience, and the wild yeast that has been floating in kitchens since the beginning of the world, only waiting for you to give it a home. If you would like every recipe and every old skill I know, all the breads and the starters and the baking my grandmother taught me, they are gathered together in my kitchen field book, waiting for you just below this video. 100 recipes from Lancaster County, going all the way back to 1720, written down the way I would tell them to you if you were sitting right here at my table. And if you are new to my kitchen, come and sit with me a while. I share these old ways every few days, the food and the skills that kept plain families fed and warm and together for 200 years and more. Subscribe, and we will bake together, and I will show you how to turn this starter into the finest bread you have ever made. There is always room at my table for one more. Until next time, God bless your hands, God bless your kitchen, and God bless every soul who gathers at your table. Now go and start your starter.